I am David Davies. I'm an Associate Professor Reader at Warwick Medical School. My main responsibilities and interests at Warwick Medical School are in technology enhanced learning, and over the years I've also developed an interest in the use of technology in resource poor settings, and as a kind of a consequence of that, global health education. So global health is an understanding that patterns of disease, healthcare systems, hopes and fears and expectations for health are different in different parts of the world, but also similar in other ways. One example may be around expectations for health and let's say normal healthy living. For families living in communities here in Coventry, for example, they may have certain customs and practices around the preparation and consumption of food, around normal diet. So different populations around the world eat different kinds of foodstuffs. And when you move to a different country, one of the things you often do, I do it when I'm abroad, is try and find familiar foods. And an understanding of how food affects our health is increasingly important. It's always been important, but it's increasingly important now about the food that we're putting into our bodies, how that's affecting us. And its relationship to incidence and prevalence of disease, for example. So different populations may have, through their diet, different predispositions to illnesses, and a good example of that might be diabetes, for example. Communities like South Indian population that have very high carbohydrate diets may have increased their risk of developing diabetes than communities or individual families that have got different attitudes to food. So cultural attitudes to food is probably a good example. And so global health education is how we will introduce in the curriculum, in our case for medical students, an understanding of this and opportunities to experience it firsthand. So is global health a program or a module? Well, it's really neither of those. It's more of a strand of experiences throughout the curriculum. There tends to be a period in the course, often quite later. In Warwick Medical School it's in the third year. It was in the third year, it's now in the fourth year, where students have around 6 weeks where they can spend that time outside of the medical school setting on an aspect of medical education or clinical education that interests them, often with an international dimension. So thinking about our own institution, around 60% of our 170 students will go for a period abroad. So they might go to Malawi, for example, and spend time working in the College of Medicine in Blantyre in Malawi, understanding how public health is delivered and received by population of Malawi. Or they might spend some time volunteering with a medical charity in India. There's a train, for example, that travels around large parts of India, offering free or low-cost eye surgery for members of the public who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it. Or you might be visiting rural communities that are largely isolated by water in Sarawak, where doctors get around on canoes going from one island community to another island. Or you might even go to more developed countries. You can go to Australia, you go to America, you can go to anywhere in the world and experience the practice of medicine and an understanding of how health is delivered as different to how it's experienced in the UK. And that's one of the important concepts, is how it's different. But an understanding of global health is almost like a golden thread that runs throughout the whole curriculum. So why would global health be important for future doctors or the future generation of doctors? Well, one thing to recognise is that we're living in an increasingly globalised world. So you can go to Malawi and work with Malawians or experience the delivery of Malawi healthcare, or you may be a GP in inner city Birmingham, where there's a Malawian family who've recently come to the country and have health concerns or health issues. And if we think about migrant populations, refugee populations, and just the multicultural populations that we benefit from here in the UK and many other countries, global really is local. So understanding the different perspectives that individual citizens bring from wherever they are in the world to Coventry, where they may live now, or to Birmingham, or to wherever in the Midlands, is very important for the understanding and practice of medicine from doctors in training at Warwick Medical School.